And we're live. We're show on the internet.
Yeah, how's it going, everybody on the internet? They didn't respond.
Damn it.
Isn't there like
How
a
rude.
live chat people can use?
There is a live chat, and they can use it.
If they wish.
But you gotta remember they're on like a 45-second delay. So maybe that's why they didn't say hi, Joe. Maybe after we shame them, the time will come around, and then they'll say hello.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. So, I'm your host, Ryan. With me, as always, Joe. And returning guest for this week's episode, Shane of RerezTV.
Welcome.
Hello.
Wizards.
Wizards.
That wizard came from the moon. No one been keeping up with Destiny?
I know. I
No.
have not been keeping up. I have very little information about Destiny other than the fact that it's a game where you shoot things.
Peter Dinklage is one of the voice actors, and in the live beta, they had one of his like lines that's going to be cut from the game because it was really bad, and it's just Peter Dinklage, like, just saying, "That wizard came from the moon." Like, no emphasis on anything. It's very strange, and it became an internet meme briefly, and it was so popular that they decided to make T-shirts.
Wow, well, you know, you gotta
for a line of the voice acting that might not even be in the game.
Nice.
People flipped their shit over that line, but mostly because it was taken out of context, so.
Whatever works.
So, this is the 65th episode of the Dapper Gaming Podcast for July 6th. And we will start with, what have you guys been doing lately? I know, Shane, you just came back from too many games.
Which is a con.
Yeah.
Of some sort. Not an actual, like, you just came back from too many games. No, it's convention in the greater Philadelphia area. I think the place I was in was called Oaks, but I don't have a good idea for maps.
I think it's called
stuff.
Oaksville, Pennsylvania.
Well, I'm
pretty sure that's where it is. I should know this because last year I helped Justin make an ad for that, and I did all the voicing for it. It was this. it was the 1980s monster truck ad.
Oh my God! Yes, that was your voice.
That was me.
Oh dear God. Okay, yes. Well, yeah. It was really cool. I got to hang out with Spoonie, with the Game Chasers, 8-Bit Eric. I got to talk to Mike Matei and the Angry Video Game Nerd and just a whole bunch of other content producers. Got to play a whole bunch of indie games and stuff. And yeah, it was a fun convention with people. So.
Yes, Justin always sells that convention very hard. I'm pretty sure it's because he helps run it. So.
Oh, he was there. Yeah, he's
yeah.
The whole thing.
But
a very calm individual.
I wouldn't describe Justin as calm, but okay.
Soft-spoken, lighthearted, romantic dinners. Yeah, that's Justin Silverman to a D right there.
Completely selfless, really nice, very welcoming.
Yep. Does not kill people.
Does not kill people.
It's never drunk driven. No, he is on the level. He's right there.
I saw photos of Justin posted from Too Many Games this year, and from what I can gather, none of those things are true that we just said. But Justin's still a great guy. Come on our podcast,
about
Justin.
The killing people part.
Well, just stay out of his iron sights. You should be fine. It's a very simple thing to do. But yeah.
So besides Too Many Games, I know you have Con Bravo coming up. I know Joe's going to be at that because I've been trying to schedule podcasts with extra guests because Joe is not going to be here. So
Convention time.
All of the conventions, it seems.
It's also weekend time.
Are you also going to SGC? Because I know a bunch of people were going to that as well, or that too far?
For me, that's too far, but I know Joe's going, for sure.
I will be there. Yeah. It's going to be a blast.
The next convention I'm going to is Con Bravo, July 18th to the 20th, and then I think, yeah, I'm going to be at Unplugged in Toronto as well. I'm a guest there, and I am a guest with a bunch of people. I think the Black Power Ranger is going to be there. The black suit Power Ranger,
Not
Johnny Young Bosch.
From first gen?
I think second gen. Power Rangers was a cool thing to watch when I was a kid, but after they started, driving gigantic cars, I just kind of stopped. So
Yeah.
yeah, when they went turbo,
Right.
I got out.
Dinosaurs are cooler.
They definitely are.
that's always the case. I mean, that's why Beast Wars is such a great Transformer series, cause dinosaurs.
Fucking love Beast
Pretty much.
Wars.
Beast Wars is so good.
It is. Has the best animation ever, though.
It's terrible. You shouldn't mislead people like that, Joe. This is the internet. They're young, they're naive, they don't know what they're doing. Oh, can you guys hear that dog?
Nope.
Nope.
No? Okay, great.
There's no dogs. No dogs.
So you're
Go to
starting to
heaven.
slip into insanity now, just going, hey
No,
guys.
I can definitely hear the... I can definitely hear the dogs, just because I don't have my window closed, because it's a million goddamn degrees. It's bugging
Yeah,
me. I'm gonna close the window. You guys just keep talking.
No. Okay. Well, welcome to the Bad Man Reviews podcast. I have taken over it with guest star Shane. Hey, Ryan's back. Hey.
Hello. I heard that. You're trying to replace me.
What? No one could replace your mustache.
Darn tootin'.
Maybe a 1920s assassin, but other than that, I don't think anyone can really replace that kind of mustache. I mean, I'm sorry, dude. When I see that mustache, I just picture you in like a leather fedora, just going through the jungle, going, "Hey, day, mate, today's your night." Just the total thing. 1920s, got a big ass Jeep. 1920s Jeep, really old, runs off like steam and maybe portobello mushrooms. Something really old school.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's the kind of look I'm going for.
Perfect.
So
Yeah, hit it on the nail.
I like to look like fuck, what's his name from Team Fortress 2? The guy who owns Manco.
Oh my god.
You know the guy I'm talking about, right? The Australian dude with the leather fedora.
Oh,
What is his
everyone is
name?
searching it up now.
I am looking it up.
And the answer is
Oh, it's Saxton Hale. That's his name.
There you go.
Saxton Hale.
Yeah, and he's got like
Sexiest.
he does not have a leather fedora, but he is just a giant man with a mustache. So, basically
Sexy
what
mustache.
He's
Yeah,
beautiful.
you just gotta get that giant man part down.
Yeah,
You'll
if
be
I was only
perfect.
like 3 times the size of a regular man, then
You would be perfect.
yeah. I would be the real life Saxton Hale, and I would go around to cons, and people would just be like, "Is that Saxton Hale?" We're like, "Yes," even though I'm not. But
Just say yes. They'll never deny it. Especially when you're that huge.
oh yeah.
Yes.
So, I guess we'll start with what we normally start with. What games have you guys been playing? What have you been up to?
Do you want to start, Shane? Or should I
You
start?
go ahead, because I got quite the list.
All right. Well, let me think here. I've started playing more Transformers Fall of Cybertron. I fucking love that game. I said it last podcast, and I'll say it again. Transformers Fall of Cybertron is probably one of the most amazing games ever. Well, just that whole Transformers series is
As far as
amazing.
licensed games go, yeah, I think that's a really great licensed game. It does Transformers well. Like,
Yes, it does. Very
Transformers
well.
is a surprisingly hard thing to do in that you have to have good driving, good shooting, and good melee combat, and you have
Yeah.
to transition between them. They have to be like totally different systems, and also animating things transforming would be a challenge. And I think that game
Yeah.
does it really well. Sadly, something I wanted to mention: there was that new Transformer game that came out this week, and it's apparently really, really bad.
Really?
Yeah, they changed
surprised by
developers. So
I
the
thought it was
one
still...
for no, they changed developers. So the one that was done by fuck what basically the one that coincides with this movie, because they always release like an unrelated Transformers game along with the Michael Bay movies, is apparently like really bad, which is upsetting because the last two were really good, much better than the movies. That's for sure.
I'm still gonna have to try it out, see what I personally think of it. But I've loved these past two Transformers games. Fall of Cybertron and War for Cybertron were both amazing. Even the multiplayer is really great. I was playing. I tried to play a Rhino Dino Horde, but at the time I tried to play it, I didn't have a mouse on me, so I was trying to use my controller. The game it says it has controller support. Well, it says it has partial controller support. The only thing I can control with the controller are the menus. Like, I can't use the controller in game at all. Like, it just won't register.
Amazing.
So that's what it means by partial controller support. I hate when that's on Steam, especially when a game's like, we have partial controller support. You just have to download. You just have to download Joy to Key and then re-register everything to your controller. It's like, no.
It doesn't. I don't even understand what that tag means. How do you partially support the controller? Like,
yeah, it's. I don't like it. I don't like when a game says that. I played a little bit of Typing of the Dead just because when I was playing games, I didn't have my mouse and I couldn't think of anything to play, so I played Typing of the Dead because I had a keyboard because it's attached to my laptop. That game is fun. It's fun. Let's just put it that way. I know it has like actual typing of Dawn of the Dead thing to it where you can shoot still. I don't know. It's nice to practice my typing, especially since I'm not that good at typing.
Isn't House of the Living Dead?
Yeah, House of the Living Dead. Just Dawn of the Dead came to mind because of the movie.
Fair enough.
I also bought Shovel Knights and beat it, and it's amazing. It's outstanding. It is glorious.
Everyone's talking about it. Man.
It deserves every single positive review it's got.
I'm gonna start playing that game probably tomorrow. I've heard really good things about that game. Like,
yes,
I think it's unusual where people. So like, there's this trend in gaming, or well, like, it's not a trend because it always happens, but there's this tendency that when people review games that they will talk about controls being bad, but they never talk about controls being good. And like, one of the things about Shovel Knight that is really surprising is that a lot of reviewers are like, this game makes walking to the right feel good. Like, it's an exceptional game at its controls.
Yeah. When I first picked up the game, I didn't understand it at all, but after like 2 or 3 screens, I really like everything just kind of came naturally. The only thing is there was a few points in the game where I just felt like Shovel Knight himself walked too slow. I was like, this takes forever, especially when you're trying to get if you're trying to get somewhere in the town and you're trying to upgrade something, it takes forever to get anywhere in the town. You don't notice it as much when you're in the levels and you're actually fighting things and moving around and hopping off obstacles, but when you're like in the town trying to just upgrade your shit and get out, it takes forever. But like, that's kind of the only complaint I have about the game. It's amazing. Definitely outstanding. Do you
find it kind of easy? Because some of the complaints I've heard from people who like really like games like this, like they're really big fans of Spelunky and stuff, is that Shovel Knight doesn't really have any parts that are hard enough.
There's some times where I was having some difficulty. With certain bosses, I had some difficulty. It's definitely not that hard of a game. I haven't played New Game Plus, though, so that might be harder. But, like, the standard normal game isn't that difficult. And I don't see a problem with that. I like it the way it is. Other than that, I started playing Awesomenauts, which is a fun game. I'm not a fan of MOBAs, but Awesomenauts is a game that I picked up and I just kind of had fun with. For a competitive game, that's not normal for me. Usually I get straight into it and I get very competitive with games, but Awesomenauts was just like, it's a fun 2D platformer MOBA thing, and I enjoyed it. And the last thing, I literally just played like 10 minutes before the stream started. A reviewer by the name of Sunder reviewed a game called Rhythm Destruction, and it looked cool, so I bought it. It's a mix of rhythm and shoot 'em up. So I'm into rhythm games. I'm into shoot 'em ups. You mix them both together, you got yourself a good game. So I bought it and I played it, and it's fun. I've enjoyed the first 10 minutes I played of it. That's kind of about all I've been playing lately. So I finally like started cutting because I have this huge list of games just that I just need to play, and I haven't been in much of a creative mood mostly because I just have so much going on. So it's been nice to just pick up some games and play them. Uh, but other than that, that's all I've been playing. Oh yeah, I played some more Etrian Odyssey a little bit, but I'm at a point where I have to grind a little to beat a boss, so there hasn't been too much of playing that.
I've been playing a game where all you do is grind to beat bosses.
Wow.
I've only been playing one game this week,
Wow.
and so I restarted. I was playing Dark Souls 2 all week, and then last night I decided to restart the whole game because I fucked up my build for my character. So there went 12 hours. And then in 4 hours, and then in like 8 hours, I managed to get even farther than I had actually gotten in 12 hours. So there we go. And it's mostly because, and here's the thing about Dark Souls. Dark Souls, you do stuff, but it doesn't tell you what it did. And the reason why I was having such a fucking hard time with my first character was I joined this thing, they have these covenants. And when you join a covenant, like, you get certain changes to the game. Like, if you join the Blue Covenant, then you can go and join other people, like, other people's games and help them fight off people from the Red Covenant who will, like, join your game to try to kill you. And then the Blue Covenant, like, joins your game to help you and, like, help you beat bosses and stuff. I joined the Covenant of Champions, which makes the game harder. That's all it does. It makes it so no one else except for people from the Covenant of the Red can join your game to try to kill you, and it makes every enemy in the game harder. And it doesn't tell you anything that's going to happen when you join it. So I was like, oh, Covenant? Sure, I'll join it. Because, like, I hadn't read up about what they did, and just made the game really hard, and that's why I wasn't able to progress at all. I was like, why the fuck is this game so hard? Like, something happened just between me talking to Joe on the podcast last week. Like, something happened between me not, like, turning off the game right before the podcast, and then turning it back on, like, after the podcast to play it more, that made me terrible. Turns out that was what I did. Because I joined it right before the podcast, and then turned off the game. And it was just so fucking hard, and I didn't make it anywhere in, like, 20 hours.
The whole game harder for you just when I heard that you're playing it on the podcast.
Great. But I made that game stupidly fucking hard for myself for no reason. You only really join you really only join that if you're, like, in New Game Plus, because, like, you've already made the game harder and you're already, like, decked out with gear. But no, I was just making no progress, and then I restarted a character last night, and I managed to beat, like, the first 4 bosses in, like, 8 hours. So
Nice.
and so I'm now actually farther than where I was last time. And also, I managed to, like, beat a bunch of I managed to beat some bosses that I took, like, 20 attempts on trying to beat on my other character, and I was able to beat them on, like, the second attempt, mostly because I just didn't join the Covenant of Champions, so made it so that I was good at that game again. I was like, oh, man, gee, look at that. Because, like, it's really intended to join when you're, like, already in New Game Plus and already have, like, all of the gear for your character that you're going to use, pretty much, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dark Souls 2, I'm really enjoying that game, because I really like Monster Hunter, so. They're very similar, so it works really well for me. But that's about all I've been playing, so.
What about you, Ryan?
You mean Shane?
Yeah, Shane. That's your name.
Ryan. Okay.
Thought to let Shane go last this week, because normally I have a huge list. He warned us he has a huge list. I'm excited to see the list. Or hear of the list.
Well, because I was just at too many games, so I got to play quite a number of things. So I got to play a whole bunch of indie games that aren't out yet, and I'm gonna pimp these guys because they deserve it. These guys named Crowman and Wolfboy. That's the name of the game. It's on iOS. A really good platformer on iPads and stuff where you kind of just swipe to move your character, but it's done in this very simple way where you have to collect these orbs. And the more orbs you collect, the darkness of the level gets pushed back farther and farther. And if you don't collect enough orbs, the darkness overlaps the screen and you die. Very cool game. I think it's available, and I'd never played it before that convention, and it is going to be a game I pick up for damn sure. Um, then I also got to play a game called Star Saver. They gave me their soundtrack, which was nice. And it's another kind of platformer game where you have these two squids that are kind of hooked to each other, and they have to like kind of swing from one power up to another power up, and there's like hidden stars everywhere. Freaky and weird, but it's fun. Um, there's this like indie game which I didn't even know they made a soundtrack for, but they gave me the soundtrack called Snake 360, and there's a sequel that they just made, which I swear I like Snake. I used to play Snake a lot on like the old first gen cell phones that actually had like LCD screens, so you could actually play Snake on them. Like this is like years back. You could play it on Atari and stuff.
Like the Razor, like the Motorola Razor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these guys made a Snake party game. 4 players play it, and it's really, really good. It's pretty much Light Cycles from Tron, the multiplayer game. And the trick that they had, which by the way adds a whole new level of fun to this thing.
There is a multiplayer Light Cycles.
Well, there is.
I played it. It's a 40-man game. I played it at a university LAN like 4 months ago. It was insanity.
This one is like this one has something a little bit. I mean I like Light Cycles a lot, like Tron 2.0 and that kind of stuff, and even the Freeverse one.
Tron 2.0.
This
awesome.
This though, they did something really cool. So when you're moving around with your snake, sexual innuendo that is not, but when you're moving around with your snake and you hit like a wall, you'd think that you die. Well, you don't. Your controller starts to vibrate heavily until I think it's like you have about 2 seconds to get out of the movement. So what you have to do is you have to encapsulate people in these little boxes to preventing them from moving around, because if they get to move around, they can escape. So it's not just hit a wall, you die. It's hit a wall, you have a couple seconds to recover. And it adds a whole layer, and there's like warp puzzles, or so there's like warp zones and like little walls. And it's simply designed. I mean, literally, the cover of this, it looks exactly like the game, but it is really, really fun. And it's just Snake. I can't stress that enough. They made Snake way more fun than it had any right to be. So I was super impressed by that. Let's see. Oh, this is fun. I was playing this with every single YouTuber at Too Many Games. This is called, oh, I'm going to butcher the name, but I think it's Super Ultimate TV Party. You know what? Let me find the real name, because that's.
I know what game you're talking about.
Well,
because I've seen it played, but
it is DreamMix TV World Fighters. That's what it's called. Okay, so DreamMix TV World Fighters is essentially Super Smash Brothers, but you can be Optimus Prime, Megatron, Bomberman, Master Higgins from Adventureland, the dude from Beyblade or whatever. I don't know Beyblade, so I don't know what his name is. Just guy with a yo-yo that he punches people with. Solid Snake is in this. Simon Belmont is in this. I mean, you know in like early episodes of animes, there used to be these like floating, or not floating, but these Easter Island heads that they'd animate the sun going around and stuff. That is a character in this game. I don't know why, but I figured at that point they're using like a Barbie type character for some reason. I don't really know why, but this game is so much fun than I had any belief of it, because I thought the game was pretty basic and it wasn't that interesting. I thought people would just find the novelty of being able to play their characters as this basic thing. But while we were sitting down, me and I think it was several other people were sitting down with me playing this, but we were basically playing Bomberman. And what we decided to do is with Bomberman, Bomberman can has a power to throw bombs, because Bomberman. But Bomberman's the only character that can kick bombs. So what you can do is if you have 2 Bombermans, you can actually basically play this game of kicking bombs back and forth, and it adds to the whole layer of difficulty to this game. It's very, very cool, and I'm very impressed with the things that they did in this game, and I don't think this game got the credit it deserved, mostly because it didn't get released in North America, but at Too Many Games, we were playing this all throughout the entire weekend, just picking up.
I have definitely seen that game, and it looks interesting. I've never gotten to play it though.
It's very fun. I'm definitely going to be bringing that to Con Bravo so that everybody can play it.
Awesome. I can't wait.
So let me see what else. Oh, this is fun. So I was playing A Visit to Sesame Street on the CEI, which isn't a joke because we were trying to figure out what this is all about. Not the worst game in the world, but I wouldn't call it a game either. God, we're trying to figure what this is all about, but really, it comes at a point in time when Snuffleupagus was apparently a real elephant. Snuffleupagus, I don't even know what it is. We were just trying to see this and figure out exactly what the game's all about. Because when it comes to CDI, there isn't that many titles out there, but this is one of the few ones I have in like the big long box plastic cases. So that's been something I've been playing. And FTL every single day since I've been sick.
That game can take up so much time.
I almost beat that game last month.
I beat it.
I'm still sour about not beating it last month. I was this close, and then the power went out. I was like, fuck.
I've been playing FTL off and on, but they did that new expansion pack thing, which has added a lot of flair to the game. I've been playing that and having fun with that.
Yeah, that expansion got me back into the game for like a few weeks because I played that game pretty religiously when it came out. I think a lot of people did, and like that expansion really changed that game.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. I've been having a lot of fun with it. My favorite thing to do is to turn off the fleet because I just don't care to be running away all the time. And when I turn off the fleet, I like exploring and that kind of stuff. And if I could just have like a gigantic map and just go through the map and just keep going and going and going forever, I would have so much fun with that. And someone's got to make a game like that because it hasn't been made yet. Probably Star Control, maybe, but I'm having a lot of fun with just that. Or Masters of Orion or something. But yeah, I've been enjoying that game quite a bit. And I guess other than that, I've been playing a lot of virtual pinball games. Like a lot. More than any one person should be doing in any single sitting, a lot.
Why?
I'm planning on doing a video, which actually I've never spoken publicly about this, but I want to make a series on pinball tables. And I've been doing a lot of really intense research to make sure I'm getting all the facts right, because pinball tables are difficult and hard to come by when it comes to information. So I've been seeking all this information about like very random things. Like for instance, there's this guy named Python Angelo, or Angelo. Python Angelo. He made a whole bunch of really cool pinball tables. And one of my favorite pinball tables in the world is Bride of Pinbot, which I used to play when I was a kid all the time. And there's this game called Pinball Arcade, which digitally, they scanned all the pieces and rebuilt it digitally so you can play it. And it's pretty much one-to-one, like I used to play it. And it's got a really good pinball emulation, so it feels accurate to what the actual pinball tables all are really like. What I find amazing is that this guy was well known for designing pinball tables, and he designed one pinball table, which wasn't like a long-form pinball table. It was kind of a stacky arcade type thing, so it looked more like a stand-up arcade game like Pac-Man or Street Fighter or something like that. And the pinball table had layers, so you'd actually move the ball up, and it was called Pinball Circus. Only 2 of them were ever made because they just didn't care to make them after that. So there's somewhere in the world, 2 prototype versions of this really rare, hard to find pinball machine. And oh my God, do I want to make a video on it. But the stuff that's out there on it is just poorly shot video footage. There really hasn't been anyone that just sat there and really put time and effort into getting this thing looking cool and done well in a video. And basically what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to find all of these pinball machines that have been super hard to find and seeing if I could make a video on it and possibly get some attention thrown at these pinball arcades, so that companies like Farsight Studios that makes Pinball Arcade could digitize these pinball machines and save them for prosperity's sake. That's a project I'm working on.
That
I'm
sounds like
looking
a
at
great project because I actually like pinball. But like where I live, there are 0 arcades left, and I don't think anywhere has a pinball table. I've been to every bar, and like except for maybe like 2 up island, because I live on a huge ass island that takes 12 hours to drive across. So, but I don't think there's any pinball tables there either. I think
there's
it's safe to
actually
say those towns only have 90 people living in them. So, but
there's actually a good amount of pinball machines around where I live, surprisingly. But this looks really cool. Pinball Circus. I'm looking at pictures of it right now, and it's really well designed. There's a lot
Yeah.
of like little tiny things in it. It looks sweet.
do you know when it was designed, Shane?
I believe it was designed possibly in 1999 or 1998. However, I'm taking complete shot in the dark. I just know that the creator of that game recently passed away, and he is prolific in the pinball community as being one of the best designers ever. So, knowing that there's this project of his that was only released in prototype and has not been, I mean, it's just such a rare and hard to find cabinet that not many people have been able to see it in person or play it, and to be able to digitize something like that and have a whole bunch of people play it, I think would make it so much more cool. And that's not the only pinball machine out there that is hard to come by and kind of rare.
Well,
I forget
it's just
the-
like arcade cabinets. Like they were something that had to be manufactured, and so you really only manufactured to order in a lot of cases. And so, like,
1994.
there's way less of them than there are. I mean, crappy video games for, let's say, the SNES. Because, like, you don't manufacture to order video games. Well, except for, like, Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii. The North American one. There's shitloads of European versions, but...
It states here that one's in Vegas right now. Doesn't say where the other one is.
Private holding, probably. But the worst thing
yeah.
is, if those pinball machines are very hard to upkeep. An arcade machine, I'm not saying they're easier, but
They're
my
easier
God,
because you can replace things with new computer parts. People don't manufacture pinball parts anymore because no one...
And think exactly, and think about it this way: there are only two of those machines out there. So
and
if one
any,
of
like,
them
special
breaks-
parts for that machine that are,
Yeah.
like, specific to it wouldn't exist anywhere else. So,
Exactly.
like, once they're
Yeah.
broken, you need to hire an engineer to figure out how this thing actually worked and then design another one, and then you have to manufacture it. And it's, like, thousands of dollars for a part.
And see, that's the problem. There are a bunch of really cool pinball machines out there that are like different, and because everybody, when you think of pinball machines, you just think of the pinball goes in, and then you have your flippers at the bottom. But there are pinball machines out there that are not designed with flippers. They just didn't have them because they're a completely different concept. I don't remember the name of the specific one, but essentially what it is a pinball machine that was created in, I believe, the 80s or 90s, and it's got a mirror background and kind of like all these red lights inside. And essentially what it does is you've got this little laser gun, and you just shoot up like 100 pinballs into the play field to hit targets. And it's done at the bottom. I don't remember the name of that one, but that's something that's really cool. And to be able to digitize that, save that for prosperity's sake would be amazing, but nobody ever talks about that one. It kind of sucks because it's an interesting design that no one's really trying anymore. I wish I could remember the name of it. It's got a strange name, and it's I don't know how rare it is, but I don't think it was ever that popular simply because it didn't have flippers, which was like the thing people wanted when it came to pinball games. And there's also, I think there's a pinball machine called Volgon or Vorgon, and it's once again it's a top-down pinball machine, very much like Pinball Circus. But what they did was it's a pinball machine on a mirror, so it looks like it's upright, but it's actually just laying down, and you kind of play it in this weird way. Once again, neat designs, but
Oh, do you mean Voltan?
Voltan, I think that's what it is, maybe? Something with a V.
Maybe.
It's got like a guy's face in it and stuff. It's a pinball machine, and then there's a pinball machine inside that pinball machine.
Oh, no, I don't think that's it then.
I will try and find the name of it, but yeah, I think there's like a really cool history with pinball machines that simply doesn't get covered anymore, and that sucks. But you know,
Pinball machines are cool.
yeah, I think they are. I think they're fantastic. Gorgar, sorry, that's what it is. No, not Gorgar. I don't even know what it is. But everybody was making pinball machines once upon a time. Bailey, Data East, Williams, Stern, Sega, Capcom. You know, people that made video games, traditional like digital video games, were also making pinball machines as well at the same time. So it's neat to see that kind of stuff out there. And you can find so many different different games out there that are based off of other video games. Like Super Mario Brothers has I think 2 pinball machines, stuff like that.
House of the Dead has a pinball machine. Jurassic Park has a pinball machines. Everything has a pinball machine.
I think the reason why those companies, though, made pinball machines is that, like, there wasn't as much money in video games at the time, so the companies that were making games made other stuff as well. Like, or at least traditionally before they made games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, Sega and Capcom, or is it Capcom? Or am I thinking Konami? Doesn't matter, Pachinko.
Sega for that one.
Well, I know that, like, I know Sega did Pachinko machines, but I think someone else. There's another Japanese games company that's like, even currently their major source, like one of their major sources of income is Pachinko machines.
Nope.
But
I forget the name. Sammy? Is that what it is? I think it's Sammy that makes a lot of Pachinko machines now. Which bought Sega, which is why I'm thinking of that. But whatever, it's a thing. It's a thing that people do.
So, there was something actually that I want to talk to you about, Shane. You also played the Battlefield Hardline beta, and I watched your video about it, and there's something that you didn't mention, so I wanted to kind of get your opinions on it. But, because, I mean, I played it as well. I think the game was fun, but I'm kind of soured about it because Battlefield 4, like, kind of still isn't that great. And, and as a game, it still feels like Battlefield Hardline is kind of just, it feels like a mod, like a really great mod, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the idea that this comes out a year after Battlefield 4 and is probably a $60 title is kind of souring. Like,
it's a slap to the face is what it is.
Yeah.
The reason why I did not mention that in the video is because my goal with the Rerez previews and reviews, when you see preview or review in the title or in the thumbnail, that's me making a journalistic video about that specific topic. I will not put my own opinion in there, no matter how bad I want to. And believe me, I wanted to say bad things about the fact that they just released Battlefield 4, and I haven't bought Battlefield 4 because it doesn't work properly. You know what I mean? Like that's an issue that they still haven't addressed, and it's a problem. And I think it affects a lot of things, but that game, this new one, is not being created by the same people. So to use Battlefield 4 as a stepping stone to kind of attack this new game, I think it does the game a little bit injustice. I'm not saying the game's perfect either, because what I did play was a preview, but they did a good job from what I could tell. And I think they've got a lot of way to go to make it a little bit more of a solid experience. But I can't really, for the life of me, say if that game is worth the money that they're asking, because there are so many people out there that feel like they just got burned by buying Battlefield 4.
And the other thing is that I don't even know if there's a price yet set for that game. I don't even know if they're taking pre-orders yet. So, for Hardline.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's the chance that it's not a $60 title.
I
but
know.
it's probably a $60 title. I think it's
Well,
almost
it's got
pretty
single
like,
player experience and everything, so I think it's gonna have to be
yeah.
something.
I mean, it's gonna be surprising if it's anything less than $60, but
I know Boogie made a Francis video on the exact same topic, and it's understandable that people are so angry at it. You can't expect people to pay $60 for a game and the game to be broken even a year after release and not be pissed, especially when a game comes out a year after release, even if it's by a different company.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's still in that EA like.
Yeah, it's still under EA. It'd be like if Call of Duty 4 came out and it was a broken piece of shit and everyone was pissed off, and then World at War came out afterwards and it was great. People would still be pissed.
No, I agree. I like honestly, those are the kind of things I want to talk about sometimes in videos, but for that specific series, I'm trying to set a precedent where I won't do that for my own videos, just because I want to say things, but those are heavily opinion-based things, and I'll have my rants where I'll discuss those things, but those don't have any place in the preview of that specific title. I like to leave the
Yeah.
game to speak for itself. And if it can't speak for itself and there's a reason, then I will dive into it like, hey, this game's broken, but the one you just released works. What's up with that? Or, in the other way around.
Yeah, because it's like if someone comes into the game and they've never played Battlefield 4 and they come into your review and you're bitching about the game because of Battlefield 4, they're not really going to care. I feel like you have to review a game on itself. You can't base your review on its predecessors too much.
I think
really
it's fair
needs to
though
be
to
a
still
standalone
complain
thing.
about predecessors at times,
Yeah,
especially in
definitely.
like
Yeah.
my review of Transistor was like a lot of my negatives was like, here's things that they did really similarly to how they did it in Bastion, but not quite as well. And so like, even though this is good, it's still disappointing. Like, so frequently in Transistor, which was by Supergiant, like, it's a game where they kind of toe the line too close to Bastion, that it didn't really do them any favors, because it looks like Bastion, it sounds exactly like Bastion, because it's all of the same voice actors. It's a super similar story to Bastion, and like, it has so many themes that are like Bastion, but it's not as good as Bastion in any of those ways. And so even though it's good on its own, it's like failed to do what its predecessor did. Like,
The
it
one thing
gets too
though
close to it. And
is
so
that
like,
if anyone, the one problem though is if anyone comes into your review and they've never played Bastion, they're not going to have any benchmark to go off of on your review. They're not going to understand what you're comparing it to. They're not going to understand what you mean. They're just going to say, I don't get what he means. He's saying it's not as good as this other game that I've never played.
yeah, you still have to talk about the game on its own and like
Yeah.
come up with an idea, but I don't think it's necessarily, it's a case by case basis really. Like, depending on the game, if it gets too close to how it was like with its predecessors, or if it's in a franchise, like, I think it's valid to complain about it not being as good as what came before it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to. One of the things I like to do in my reviews is I will draw comparisons to older games and stuff, just as a point of reference for people. I mean, I come into the assumption that if somebody's watching one of the reviews, they have played games in the past, so there's some things I'll give them that are just like, hey, do you know what a first-person shooter is? And I will throw that, because I know that they must know that a little bit. But there are specific things that I go into, like if I say SNES on a chip, very few people know what that is that are not gamers. And if they're watching one of my videos, I come into the assumption maybe they may not know what that is, so I explain Super Nintendo Entertainment System on a single processing chip. And stuff like that you have to explain once in a while. But when it comes to like Battlefield, I think most people that are interested in the new Battlefield game would have bought 4 or would have known of 4 or 3 or 2 or any of the other ones that would have driven them to want to play this one.
I mean, people who aren't even really into games know that Battlefield 4 was a mess, and then continued to think that after most of the things about Battlefield 4 were fixed 9 months later. But
Yeah.
like, I think in the case of Battlefield, like, it's such a huge franchise that people know, even if they aren't really into games. So
Yeah. There's always you always have to expect new people though coming in. There's always a new generation of gamers coming in. There's always new people coming in playing the game for the first time. It's like me saying, "Oh, well, it's Halo 3. You have to expect people to have played Halo 2 and Halo 1." But I know a ton of people which Halo 3 was their first game, or Halo 4 was their first game, or Halo 2 was their first game. It's just, there's always a new generation of gamers coming in. But then again, I don't really expect the younger new generation of gamers to go searching out reviews on YouTube. A lot of them, probably like us, have their parents pick up game that their friends like, and then they just play the game with their friends. So, yet again, I guess our reviews are more based towards an audience of gamers that have been gamers for a while and know what's going on.
Well, I mean, the average gamer ages 28 to 34 or something like that at this point.
Yeah.
So just a quick note, the 8-Bit Duke has pointed out that the game that we were thinking of, Shane, is called Varkin.
Varkin. Thank you.
Varkin.
Yeah, and I did speak to him about that before, so yes, that's what it is.
So there you go. If you want to look for a really rare, strange pinball machine, look for Varkin.
I'm going to find the circus one.
And
I'm going to have it in the corner of my room, and I'm going to put it in every one of my reviews.
And you won't let Shane play it, ever.
It'll just sit there, and then I'll have a picture of Shane next to it.
Actually, not even just a picture. You should get like a cardboard cutout, like a pop-out
yeah.
of Shane.
That would be great. If you can find one of those, tell me where you got it, because I'd be kind of curious.
A cardboard cutout of you? With
Yes.
a pinball machine.
2 more pinball machines, actually, while I'm on the topic here. 2 more pinball machines. I just remember the name of the one that doesn't have flippers. It's got 2 joysticks. You hold like that. Pinball, by the way. 2 joysticks like that, and it's got little firing buttons on it. It's called Rapid Fire. I don't know the year that was released. Let me find out.
Sounds like the other pinball machine I played.
Rapid Fire released in definitely not 2001. 1981? No, Hyperball. Oh, there's 2. Okay, so Rapid Fire and Hyperball. So 1981, 1982. These 2 games, I think Hyperball is the really cool looking one. Yeah, okay. So Hyperball has this like red glass and mirror backing with, it's really vibrant looking. You just shoot balls up into targets. It's a really cool looking table. I mean, it looks like something that should exist in a movie and not in real life. It looks that cool.
Yeah.
And Hyperball is a little bit different. Or not Hyperball, but Rapid Fire is a little bit different, but still neat tables.
It kind of, the whole hand thing reminds me of, there's one pinball machine I played. I can't remember what it was called, but instead of the whole pull back to launch the ball or button press, there was 2 guns on each side of the machine, and you pulled the triggers to either launch the ball or pull the flippers. Yes. It was really fun.
I forget that. I think I know what table that is. Oh, but here's a cool one too. I think it's called Pac-Man or Baby Pac-Man, or Baby Pac. Baby Pac-Man probably. I love forgetting the names of these. I've been doing all this research for a little while. It's called Baby Pac-Man. All right, so Baby Pac-Man is a arcade cabinet. On the top you have Pac-Man, Baby Pac-Man, and you play the game, and you have like basically you've got little joysticks so you can move Pac-Man or Baby Pac-Man around a maze, just like a regular Pac-Man game. The only difference is in this one there are no power-ups. What you have to do is you have to leave the bottom of the maze in these little exits, and once you've left in the exit, a pinball falls down on a real pinball table beneath the digital screen, and you start to play this little pinball game. And playing the little pinball game, you collect the power-ups that transfer into the game up above once you lose the ball down below. That's a real thing that exists, and it looks really cool.
It does. That looks fun to play.
Once again, though,
interested in that.
Probably pretty difficult to maintain something like that, because that's both realms of the world in one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, neat stuff though. I really like that kind of technology. Just things like that always interest me. Just like variations of really cool tables and arcade stuff. Like one of my favorite arcade games was Police 911. Because it would track your body movement, so you could actually move out of the way to dodge bullets and stuff. And I always thought stuff like that was really cool. But yeah, Pinball Be Cray.
Pinball is always something I've been interested in ever since. I can't remember what it was called, but it was the virtual pinball game that came with pretty much every version of Windows XP.
Oh, Space Cadet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that game as a kid. I played the shit out of that. That was always fun.
I forget how long it's been, but I think I played. I haven't played that in a while, but I used to play that all the time, just because it was a part of Windows. So
Yeah, it was just loaded in there. It's one of the best preloaded Windows games probably in a long time.
Mhm. But yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Pinball is one of my favorite things. I don't know why. I just like it.
What about pachinko? They're pretty much the same thing.
Oh, I don't like pachinko.
I know you don't.
So is that it for... Yeah, I guess that's it for your games. You haven't played anything else besides your pinball stuff? No?
Just that's about it.
Alrighty. So, I guess there's some news. There's a couple things that I forgot about, so I was looking at them on the internet.
That's the thing that
yeah.
we're on.
Literally, we're on it. So, this is kind of funny. We were talking... Okay, maybe it was with Joe and Terry that I was talking about Dead Island having like 1 million games. Or maybe it was someone in the real world. But there's another Dead Island game coming out this year now. So now, not only now is there Dead Island 2, Dead Island the MOBA, there's another Dead Island game that they just announced called Escape Dead Island that they announced this week. And it's like it's like a stealth game where you escape Dead Island, which is an island full of zombies. And the guy seems all out of it on drugs. It looks strange. It's basically Dead Island with like parkour. And it's made by Fat Shark, who are the guys who made War of the Roses and War of the Vikings.
You mean like Yu-Gi-Oh! War of the Roses?
No, War of the Roses, like the game that came out last year about England's period of time called War of the Roses. It's a medieval fighting game that wasn't as popular as other game that came out. What's the one with the knights that kill each other and you can chop off each other's arms? It's real gross looking.
Chivalry?
Yep, Chivalry. That's the one.
I don't get, like... I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know enough about video games. When the hell did Dead Island become that popular that it needed that many games?
It's not. That's the thing about it.
I heard the first one was not that amazing, and
I
heard the expansion was also not that amazing.
It's not. They're not good games.
Dead Island's a decent game. I didn't think it was like the worst thing I ever played, but I didn't go, oh my god, they need to make like 7 of these. Like I never did that at any point.
Yeah,
I was just like, that was a game that existed, and then I walked on and I went and did something else.
I didn't think it needed a MOBA.
I didn't think it needed a sequel either. But oh boy, 3 Dead Island games this year.
That is
3 Dead Island games this year announced.
Oh,
they might not all come out this year. I'm pretty sure this one comes out this year. It comes out in fall for like $40. So it's more of like a spin-off, but whatever.
Wow.
I just don't know.
No,
I don't know what people...
No one will buy any of these games and then they'll stop making them. Well, people will buy them, but not enough people will buy them. And no one's going to play the MOBA.
No, you see, Terry loves Dead Island, so he's going to buy $1 million worth of Dead Island so that they can make another one. Just him. He's gonna make sure they keep making that franchise. He's gonna have a whole month of just Dead Island games.
Damn you, Terry. Every month they'll make a new Dead Island game.
Just for him.
Yep.
Terry would be the one to do that bastard.
I know. Damn him.
I don't know. I mean, it's like, there's companies out there that treat video games like movies. So when they're making something, they're thinking, boy, this game's popular. We got to make like 7 more of these.
Well,
And I get that. I really do.
you have to
This
think
is
of
the
like
franchise.
who owns Dead Island. It's owned by Deep Silver, who are owned by Nordic, I'm pretty sure. But
Whoever owns the rights to it, they're laughing their way to the bank.
they're the guys who bought all that stuff from THQ last year.
Yeah.
And I believe they also they did buy THQ's name this year, like last month, because they're gonna make the games that they're releasing that used to be THQ properties. They're gonna like publish under the name THQ instead under Nordic, because no one knows who Nordic is. But But like this is Deep Silver's biggest franchise. They have a couple games that they've made. They made Risen and Risen 2. That was the pirate RPG. And like they're okay games. And I mean, as far as Dead Island goes, also okay.
Amazing trailers.
Oh yeah, that great.
Oh, the
good
trailers
trailer.
were nice.
But like this is their biggest franchise, and so they've probably been making this game for used to be their biggest franchise. I would say Darksiders is probably a bigger franchise. But
Yeah,
like
Darksiders is
they,
amazing.
you have to think they've probably been making Dead Island 2 for a while, and this is probably something that's been in the pipeline for a year if they announced it, because it's coming out in the fall. So it's probably been being made for like a year and a half already. And this Dead Island MOBA, I don't know where that came from. That just seemed like, hey, League's a thing that's popular, we should do that. But like, if you think about who owns it, this is their biggest franchise, and so it makes sense that they keep making games with it, because it's probably the only one that has any name recognition. Because everyone knows Dead Island, and they know it wasn't fantastic, but they know it, which is more than they can say for, let's say, Risen, which is a franchise that most people don't know anything about, and wouldn't know was kind of all right.
There's
I like it
not
more than Dead
too
Island.
many- there's not too many franchises that can pull off a MOBA and have it competitive against League and Dota, or at least keep somewhat of a community playing it.
I don't think this is it, though.
Yeah, this is definitely not it. This is going to die very quickly.
It's not a MOBA, it's a Zomba.
Yeah.
That's their big thing. They're like, it's not a MOBA, it's a Zomba. For zombie online multiplayer battle arena, I guess? I don't know.
Oh my god. There's like the only things that have come around that's mobile wise that have still kind of stuck around are Blizzard's MOBA, because it's Blizzard.
But it's not even out yet. Like the reason why it seems popular is because it's not out, and so people who have keys are just making YouTube videos that everyone are watching.
Yeah, that's true.
Because no one's able to actually play the damn thing yet.
But I have a feeling once it comes out, it'll be popular enough just because it's Blizzard. And the other one is kind of Awesome Knots. It still has a pretty large community, surprisingly, for a game that really has no background. I think it's just because of its art style.
Because it's different.
2D style. Yeah, because it's different than the rest. It's not just like a copy and paste cut trying to be League of Legends. It's kind of its own thing.
I mean, it's nothing like
then
League of Legends. It's only like League of Legends in that there are also towers.
Yeah.
But
and Smite is
Smite's doing okay.
Yeah, but other than those like 3, I can't really name anything that is surviving as a MOBA. There's been a bunch of like MOBAs, but they're just like.
Well, I mean,
they
Han
die
is
very
like
quickly.
totally dead at this point, which was the big game that was competing with League.
Yeah.
Before Dota 2
there's a
came
lot.
around. Then Dota 2 came around and Han just died because everyone who's playing Han started playing Dota.
There was a lot like that. A lot of small companies that were like, we can make a MOBA and be super money rich like League and Dota, and then they just died very quickly.
I mean,
When
that's
no one played their game.
that's like the people who make phone games who are like, hey, Clash of Clans is the thing, and then they make a ripoff and make $0 on it.
Yeah. because everyone's gonna play Clash of Clans
Because
instead.
it already exists.
Yeah.
Sadly, not the case for threes, which did get ripped off, and then the rip-off was a lot more popular than threes.
I think somebody recently, released a MOBA on iOS the other day, and I downloaded it by accident, and I deleted it about 2 seconds after.
Huh.
But that's what I've played like for like 2 seconds. I don't know. I'm not a fan of MOBA games. I'm really not.
Yeah.
It's a lot of investment to get into them. Like, I really like
Yeah.
Dota. I play Dota all the time, but there's
I
no
played
way I'll
League.
ever switch because I've invested so much goddamn time into Dota that, I mean, at this point, even if I liked League, I'd still have to say it was trash, just because I have to play Dota.
I played League for about a week, and then I haven't played really MOBA since, other than Awesome Knots. I just can't get into them.
Well, the reason why I can play Awesome Knots is that you need to put 0 time to be able to actually play that game, because it's like a 2D
Yeah.
platforming beat-em-up kind of a game.
Yeah.
It just has the tag MOBA because you're playing against 3 other people.
Yeah.
You have to kill a tower.
Yeah.
So they're like, it's
It's
a
still
MOBA.
fun.
I'm like, sure it is.
It has everything that a MOBA does, pretty much. Items, upgrades, minions, towers.
I think it's just a lot more accessible than the other ones, but
Yeah, it's definitely more accessible than the other ones.
but I can see why people
don't.
don't like MOBAs, because they're not accessible and they just make you angry.
I can see that being a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I get angry all the time when I'm playing Dota. You just lose for no goddamn reason, or the other team
Yeah.
won't let you pause the game even though your fucking keyboard's not working, and then they just kill you, and it's like, you asshole.
I don't know. For me, it's just, I just don't like it. I like playing games that are enjoyable and rewarding and stuff like that. I do, and I know that there's a lot of people that have a lot of dedicate a lot of skill to playing that game. But for me, it's a lot of sitting and waiting and redoing, sitting and waiting and redoing. And I can see that only being fun for so long until you eventually just want to stop. But if that's the kind of game you like, I can totally see getting in on that. It's just, for me, it just doesn't work.
It's super competitive, and so you have to, like, be in that mindset, I guess. Like, there's people who just play Call of Duty, and I mean, arguably, it's like the same thing in that, like, every match you reset and you do it again, and, like, or Counter-Strike, I guess, is a better comparison because Call of Duty is just so fast and it has that stupid progression system, but whatever.
I have friends that are like, I'm like, oh, you play games? What do you play? And they're like, I play Call of Duty. And I'm like, what else do you play? Call of Duty. I'm like, that's all you play? They're like, yeah. I'm like, you're not a gamer. Go away.
Yeah.
I know. Sadly, I also know a lot of girls who just play Call of Duty, just so they can get guys who play Call of Duty.
Why?
Because guys play Call of Duty.
Why would you even?
It doesn't even make sense because it doesn't seem necessary, because it seems like...
This is a problem I'm starting to see a lot, where people are saying, I'm a gamer, but really they're just someone that happens to play a video game. If somebody comes up to me and says, I'm a film buff, I'm like, hey, cool, so what's your favorite black and white film? I go, black and white film, shit. Well, you can't really be in the film that much if you don't like a lot of black and white movies. I mean, there's a lot of black and white movies out there. A lot of them define the way that modern films look and feel. And if you don't have a respect and understanding or have ever watched any of those ones, you can't really consider yourself a film buff. And if you play games and you talk about games, you say, well, I'm a gamer, and you're the kind of person that basically goes, oh, I only play Nintendo games, I don't play anything else. Well, you're not a gamer. You're a fan of Nintendo, you're not a gamer. I don't care how many times you turned on your NES to play Metroid. You can play Metroid better than anyone else. If you haven't played anything outside of Metroid, you're not a gamer. You're just like that one franchise. That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
And I do see a lot of people doing that with Call of Duty and Counter-Strike and like...
I mean, for a long time, that was WoW. Like...
Yeah.
I mean, I've been trying to get my girlfriend out of that, because she's like, she just plays WoW and then, like, the Telltale games. I'm like, look at all these wonderful games. Like, I introduced her to Civ, she's like, I love this. And I was like, yeah, look, don't just play fucking adventure games and WoW then. because like
Speaking of
there's
that-
actually other good games out.
Speaking of that, I need to download the 2 Witcher games and play them before you get Witcher 3 and beat it and stop playing it so I can play it.
Yeah,
I need to
Witcher
play all the
3,
Witcher
that's next year,
games.
man. It's coming up. Witcher 2 is going to take up a lot of your time. So, I
was
mean,
like,
if you
I'm
start playing it
only gonna-
now, you might be ready for Witcher 3.
I was like, I'm going to just play Witcher 2 and not play Witcher 1. My friend's like, why would you do that? If you play Witcher 1, it's kind of fun and it like influences stuff in Witcher 2 and you can carry your character over. So I'm like, I guess maybe I'll play Witcher 1 if I have time.
Yeah, I would try playing Witcher 1. The combat, if by the time that you get out of the first act and you like do not like the combat, because the combat in that game is fucking wonky in that it's like mouse driven and it's isometric and it's just weird. It's like
Yeah.
it's got this weird timing mechanic that is awkward. But if you can get past that, then keep playing it because it's fun. It's a great story. The Witcher 1 like is one of the better RPGs that have come out. Witcher 2 is astounding. It's my favorite RPG of like the modern RPGs, I would say, on computer, where they have like basically moral choices. I mean, as a game, if you compare this like with the other RPGs that people think of when you say RPG nowadays, like Mass Effect or Dragon Age, they're
Elder
way
Scrolls.
better. Elder Scrolls, way better. Absolutely trounces those games. They have nothing on The Witcher 2. The Witcher 1 is CD Projekt's first game that they ever made. It was really big, really ambitious for a first game, and you can like feel that it's a first game. It like the mechanics aren't quite there, but they did a great job of writing it. So
My friend keeps going to EB Games every once in a while, and he'll just go to like the used bin and pick up games for like $5, like really old Xbox 360 games for like $5, because that's his thing. Instead of going next gen, he's just gonna get like all the old games that he can never afford. So he's like picking up all the Borderlands for like $5 and like shit like that, BioShock, and Witcher 2 was in the bin. He's like, "This looks interesting. Should I get it?" And I was like, "You fucking pick that up right now and you play it."
I don't know about the console version of Witcher 2. I
Yeah.
haven't. The way that game plays on PC, I don't. They had to really majorly change it to release it on Xbox. It's why it didn't come out at the same time. In fact, they redeveloped the entire game, and it took them 2 years to make the port. Because they're like, we can't release this game as like on console. It would not work because the controls just don't match up. So they had to completely revamp it.
Yeah, I still think it'd be worth it for like the $5 he paid for it.
Oh yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
If he had a PC that could run it, he could get it for like $3 on Steam because Witcher 2 goes on sale like once a month, and it's just like it's only $250 now. Okay. Every time that sale goes on, every time that game goes on sale for $250, I buy a copy of it and I just give it to someone. I'm like, here, play this.
Not surprised. It's like my friend every time. During summer sale, I Divine Cybermancy went on sale. He bought 10 copies and just gave them out to all of his friends. And he's like, "We're playing this together," and he just gave it to everyone.
That game is so strange, but so great.
I love it. It's so good.
It's like a Morrowind style RPG, or well, I guess it's like a Deus Ex style RPG.
Yeah.
But it's multiplayer, which is weird. Like the
first
old
day
school
game-
Deus Ex games, not Human Revolution.
Yeah.
Which
Me and my friend
makes that
played
game
it together,
wonderful.
and we had so much fun. If no one's played I Divine Cybermancy, get it on Steam. Play it. Get some friends. Play it. It's fun. It's
Yeah.
worth your time.
It's really weird mechanically, so you have to kind of get past that. But
Yeah.
'Cause they do some
Playing it
strange
with a
things with the
controller
controls and stuff.
isn't-
not
you have
advised.
to you have to really limit yourself if you're playing with a controller. Like I don't hack anything at all. Like there's a whole like hacking part of that game, but because it's so complicated to do with the controller, I'm just like, "Hey, Ryan, can you hack?" Hey,
What
Ryan,
did you
can
do, Joe?
hack-
What did you do?
They
I
know what
guess
you
I
did, Joe. They're coming for you now.
I guess I didn't
Got a
hack
bunch,
good enough. I'll just get my friend to hack anything with the computer because he plays with mouse and keyboard. My friend's name is also Ryan.
What a coincidence.
I have too many friends named Ryan. There's
Common
like
name.
7.
So, while we mentioned the summer sale, during the summer sale, Steam actually set their record for concurrent users. They reached 8 million concurrent users, which absolutely trumps PlayStation Network and Xbox Live, and I would assume the Nintendo Network, because I don't think a lot of people own Wii U's.
Yeah.
I don't think there's 8
There's more
million
users
Wii
than there
Us.
are units that can connect, so...
Yeah,
Well, you also have to include 3DS on that too, because 3DS is part of the same network. But
Only now it
still,
is, but probably they haven't hit 8 million concurrent users.
no,
Um,
I
so,
doubt like Uplay has gotten that either.
yeah, so on the 29th of June, so it was the day before the last day of the sale, they reached 8 million concurrent users, which is a milestone for Valve, but also kind of a milestone for every other online gaming distribution service, because no one has hit that or even come close. Like, Xbox Live doesn't even come close to that ever, so it was pretty surprising, because I think Xbox, like, also back in January they announced that they have 75 million active accounts on Steam now, which is huge when you look at Xbox Live, which I think has 60 million total.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's 50 million. It's something like that. But in the case of Xbox Live, it's like every Xbox is an account, and like maybe some extra ones on top of that, like per person who uses it in the household, and they're not even their like active accounts. So PC gaming, huge market. Who'da thunk it?
Right.
Not surprised.
Kind of seems like the biggest market, strangely enough. But whatever.
Everyone
No
has
one
a computer
cares.
nowadays, so it's not surprising.
Um,
Even like with my shitty laptop computer, I can play games on Steam. It's
because there's just so many games.
yeah, you can play indie games. You can play really awesome games, but on the lowest quality settings. You can still play them.
And
You
to be
don't
fair,
need
a
some
lot of those
$5,000
older,
gaming computer.
a lot of console games are just like their PC, their like ports are really crappy. Like the console versions look really crappy. They're basically equivalent to the PC version on the lowest settings, because they like really down the resolution.
Yeah.
Like Skyrim on Xbox 360 ran it like, I think it was 500p. Like, that's what they were rendering at. So way under 720. I mean, it's basically standard def at that point. And it's like, yep, optimal gaming experience. I mean, no AA, super low resolution that PCs have not pumped out in forever. I mean, even back when we had CRT monitors, the resolution was way over 480. But
Yeah. I'm happy with my console, and I'm also happy with my computer.
Most people are.
so there's this 3 other pieces of news, unless you guys have some stuff that you want to talk about. So Summer Games Done Quick raised over $700,000 on the weekend, or I guess that was last weekend. They were still going on when we were recording the podcast, but congratulations to them, because that is triple the amount that it raised last year. Also, there was a fantastic part when they named Yoshi after Jeff Gerstmann, who fucking hates Yoshi. If you don't know who Jeff Gerstmann is, he's like the head reviewer for Giant Bomb. He started it with Ryan Davis, who also passed away just about a year ago. Like, this is just over that. Ryan Davis was arguably one of the best video game reviewers ever, so quite a loss to the community. But they named Yoshi. Jeff Gerstmann fucking hates Yoshi. He does not think Yoshi should have his own games or even be an important character. And they named Yoshi in Mario RPG after or in Paper Mario after Jeff Gerstmann, and then one of the speedrunners is like, "Should I know who that is?" And they're like, "Yeah, he's a reviewer who hates Yoshi." And then he's like, "Oh, well, that's dumb, but I guess that's kind of funny now." And then then that specific person started trash talking a review that Jeff Gerstmann did about Twilight Princess. But he didn't know it was Jeff Gerstmann. He's like, "That's right up there with 8.8 Twilight Princess guy," who happens to be the same person. It was one of the most amazing things to watch live. I'm like, he doesn't know who Jeff Gerstmann is, and now he's referring to his review on the internet a decade ago. Amazing. Awesome. Just like one of the biggest coincidences in the world. Plus, I know Joe would probably agree with 8.8 for Twilight Princess, because I'm pretty sure Joe likes that game.
I like Twilight Princess.
But big congrats to Summer Games Done Quick, because those guys are probably one of the better charity streaming events, I guess. But good force for the community.
Definitely. It's always nice to have a little fundraiser go on for any nice causes. I enjoy seeing them.
So last two quick things. These are actually one of these is just funny, because the irony is insane. But Fox ripped off the BioShock Infinite logo for their defending the homeland bit on Fox News. There's a lot of levels to the irony here. I enjoy it. So I guess AV Club kind of pointed this out first, but defending the homeland has a logo that looks exactly like BioShock Infinite's logo, except for that the flag on the bottom isn't all torn up. It's together for defending the homeland, but it's the same texture and stuff on the metal. So there's almost no difference. But pretty amazing that a game that was about a bunch of right-wing conservatives who run their Christian utopia, killing people, being super racist and killing people, had that logo ripped off by a company that mostly is watched by right-wing conservatives, but also attacks video games for their violent content pretty frequently, ripping off a really violent video game. It's pretty great.
A little nuts.
I saw that on Reddit. It was it was the top post on Reddit at the time, and I just found that so hilarious when I saw it. I couldn't believe it.
I'm curious to see if they still use it next week.
Probably not. Someone probably got fired for that, or isn't getting hired again to do photo work for them.
I would imagine I'd imagine they'd get a little bit in trouble. I mean, it's I don't know. I know what it's like to work in a place like that and have the deadline rolling down on you, but that was really close looking. Don't
rip off of a game that a couple million people have played.
They're really close. They both have the stars in the same place. The only difference is that they added two more in the middle. The shape is the exact same. It's
an obvious ripoff.
Yeah. It's too close. But
too close.
I found that quite humorous. As Buck Murdoch said, irony can be pretty ironic sometimes.
Well,
so the last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, I don't know how big into esports you guys are. The International is next week. Not this week coming up, but the week after. It's the Dota 2 International. But this is actually about the International, but that's just a huge event. It's the biggest event. So I was thinking maybe you you would have known about it. But so this week the internet kind of exploded because of a Hearthstone tournament that was males only, that was in Europe.
Yep.
I believe it was in Finland, if I'm not mistaken. And I kind of want to talk about it a bit because there's kind of two arguments. So they're now allowing women to compete, but there's kind of two arguments as to why. Like, there is an argument against why they weren't allowing or for why they weren't allowing women to compete in the tournament. I'm sorry, but so like this tournament is actually a qualifier for another tournament that called, I guess their organization is called the International eSport Federations, so IESF. But the tournament in Finland is a qualifier for IESF, and IESF, in order to like correspond with international sports rules, like these are the same rules that govern basketball and baseball and boxing and hockey and soccer and every other sport basically. In order to correspond with these rules, or like to follow these rules, they didn't allow women to compete with men because they wanted to like try to legitimize esports as a sport, and so they were trying to follow like actual international sports rules, and they were doing it as part of another even bigger organization than them. And so this qualifying tournament for this bigger tournament that wasn't allowing women to compete because they can't qualify for the tournament that this is a qualifier for. And so there's kind of that argument there that a lot of the internet kind of decided to ignore, where it's like, we're not allowing women to compete because this is a qualifier for another tournament where women aren't allowed to compete, so it doesn't make sense like to allow them, because it just really creates problems down the line when a woman wins and it's like, great, you won second place, you're going to the big show.
I don't know. It seems very stupid. I don't understand why they really thought it was like, okay. The idea of professional sports being like basically having a change in sexes is simply from a point of an old mentality that women and men can't play on the same field, which there's a bunch of opinions running that, and I get that.
I think in some sports it's a little more legitimate as an argument. Like, you wouldn't have men boxing women because the guys are just bigger and stronger. Like
testosterone, stuff like that. There are 1,000.
But then there's other sports that follow this rule in order to like follow international sports guidelines, like chess. Chess doesn't allow women to compete with men, and so like esports is very much arguably like chess. Like esports, as far as what it is, like you would say it's like competitive chess in that it's just like you're not physically exerting yourself, and so like. They're following rules that already exist, and so in order to try to establish itself as something more mainstream and bigger, which arguably would help esports as like a scene overall. But I think that there's obviously the other argument that it's just silly that you wouldn't allow women to compete with men.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like I used to work at a place where there would be female bodybuilders, so I've seen females compete in the same arena as men, and in some cases past the men. But honestly, like in games where it's just one of these, yeah, come on, really? There's no reason for that.
It's funny because this all happened around the exact same time as a woman won the National Pokemon Championships, which is kind of funny.
A little bit. I just find it stupid. I find it so dumb that a company would be that stupid. Would willingly be that dumb and basically just make it look like everybody's sexist in that industry, and it's truly not like that. But what can you do? You know, just some people are just dumb.
Shane, are you sexist?
No.
Everyone in this industry is now sexist.
That seems to be it. That seems to be the way it goes.
Pretty much.
We're done.
As someone who kind of works in games, kind of true.
If you ever
It's
turned
true,
on
it's
Call
true.
of Duty, everyone's sexist.
And racist and homophobic, but and anti-Semitic. That
Yep.
too.
Don't forget anti-Semitic. Because if
And
you
a
forget
camping
anti-Semitic,
douchebag.
you're actually... Oh, man. I don't know. I'm just... the whole thing just confuses me to such great extent. I just don't understand why people act that way in that kind of... I mean, gaming is such a new form of entertainment, like the digital gaming. Why can't it just be new? Why do we have to set up the rules from the old world and bring those into our new form of entertainment? I mean, Jesus, it's like less than 30 or 40 years old. Let it be. But no, people need to throw in, oh, we can't have women in the same building as men because they smell like...
Cooties.
Thankfully, MLG isn't following those guidelines, and they're kind of just sticking to how they've always been doing it.
Well, no one else does it.
Yeah.
It seems like a company that has a bunch of money has decided to try to make esports a big thing, and in order to do that, they've decided to follow like traditional sports, which in this scene no one really cares about.
Yeah.
I don't feel like most people who watch competitive Dota 2
Hockey.
like
Yeah.
and also I feel like the people who watch games like Hearthstone or whatever really competitively wouldn't care. I think that's really obvious actually because of like how outspoken the community was about how silly this rule is. I still feel bad for the smaller tournament that everyone got really mad at because they were following a much bigger tournament's already existing rules in order to like stop a conflict there. Because the thing is, the bigger tournament still doesn't allow women. It's only the small tournament that everyone got mad at that has allowed women, which has just created probably a big logistics issue where they have to figure out what happens when a girl wins the tournament because she's not allowed to go to the big tournament. So
I really hope
that's just going to be a pain in the ass for them, but
I really hope a team of just girls wins. Just
no one leaves the qualifying rounds except for women.
Yeah.
It is like rerun the tournament. Redo the qualifiers, have a men's qualifiers.
Or maybe you can just have the big tournament not be fucking stupid and actually, go to the sports people and say, hey, we want to follow your rules, but no women in esports doesn't really make sense.
It's that they don't even have to follow these guidelines. They've just opted to.
They're just so you can't change a few to make sense for the thing that you're doing.
Yeah, basically.
Like, I can see following some of them, but changing some would make sense.
But, yeah, really silly situation going on there. Still kind of feel bad for that smaller company, because they got a lot of hate, and arguable for, like, I don't feel like people read up on the situation at all, and so they're just like, oh, that's sexist, even though they were actually just following guidelines handed down by, like, a bigger tournament that they're the qualifier for. And now they're like, yeah, women can now be in the qualifier tournament for a tournament that they can't qualify for. Great.
Perfect.
We live in a great world, guys. But hopefully that bigger tournament will change their rules, because that's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, if not, then they're just going to get as much flack as the small tournament did when the big tournament comes around.
Yeah, well, if no one,
especially
except
when a
for
girl
men,
wins this
qualified
qualifier
for it, it doesn't matter, and they won't change the rule.
Well, hopefully a girl qualifies for this.
So, I've got one more thing that I forgot to mention that I wanted to kind of bring up, because I know Joe's kind of excited for Mighty Number 9. I don't know if Shane is at all interested in Mighty Number 9.
I like Mega Man, and I'm interested to see what happens with this, yes.
So, Mighty Number 9 has started another round of crowdfunding. So basically, they raised $4 million last year on Kickstarter, and this second round of funding is in order to do basically two things. One, get English voice acting for the game. And then two, allow people who, like, missed out on the first Kickstarter to, like get a chance to get those rewards by donating to like this one, which I don't think is on Kickstarter, but is on like their regular website. I'm sure Mighty Number 9 has a website at this point. Yeah. So you would like just pledge through PayPal, but they
I
have
also heard that there's an animation.
Yeah, well, that was part of the original project. Is that they were going to do like an animated series of Mighty Number 9, and they have released the teaser for that. They did that all today, I believe.
Nice.
So there is some things for you to look at if you are interested in Mighty Number 9, or if you missed on the first Kickstarter and you would actually want to donate to that, then you can do that. Because I think right now they're looking for $100,000 to do full English voice acting, and then they might add some other stuff based on what money they get. So
Awesome. I'm excited for Mighty Number 9. I love me some Mega Man, and Mighty Number 9's looking to be a cool successor to that.
oh yeah, it should be good. Hopefully, I mean it's made by Inafune, so I'd be surprised if it was not as good as old Mega Man games, because it's not hard to make a Mega Man game. So
No, it's
I mean,
not. If you're the guy who, invented it.
yeah, it's not fair to say it's not hard to make a Mega Man game. Like, the thing about those platformers is that it's really about level design and like really tweaking it to make it feel just right. And so
Yeah.
it is hard, but from a technical perspective, it's very easy.
You got your stage, go through it, you get to the boss, you do it again.
Well,
8 more times.
it's just a lot of testing.
7 more
It
times.
just takes a lot of time.
5 more times.
But hopefully that turns out great. I don't
We
know
all
if there's
hope
anything
so.
else that you guys are looking to talk about that maybe I
think-
missed.
I think you covered most of the news. I think
There
you did a
has
good
not
job.
there has not been a lot since E3. I think
More
that's
than-
always what happens.
More than some days. More than some weeks.
It was real bad when those consoles came out. It's like, consoles are out.
Yep.
Nothing for 6 months. It's like, Jesus fuck, when is anyone gonna do anything? Announce a game? Release a game? I don't know.
Hey guys, there's new Call of Duty.
The only
Excited
thing that
for that
happened for
news?
6 months was like, Sony sold 1 million units. Sony sold 2 million units. Sony sold 3 million units. It's like, Jesus.
Thanks for the news, Sony.
That reminds me, actually,
Sony
because
sold 7 million.
I didn't get to ask. I didn't ask Shane yet. What did you like from E3? Because this is what we're gonna do all the way up until fall, and then we're gonna be like, what game are you excited for this fall?
What did I see at E3 that I liked the most? Huh? Wow. I don't want to say Grim Fandango because I've already played that game, but I do like the idea that they're remastering it.
A lot of people missed out on the part where Tim Schafer tweeted, "Yeah, right now we're looking into doing other ports," and so it looks like they might be releasing another like a PC version of that, like a redone PC version of that, which would be fantastic.
Which would be great. I'd love
I think
that.
it's obvious at this point that they will not be getting an Xbox version, but it's likely that they do a PC one because Sony doesn't really care.
I love me some Tim Schafer. I love that man.
Oh, Grim Fandango's wonderful. It's just
Everything he's
real hard
designed
to
has been
run.
wonderful.
It's
I
basically
also-
impossible to run on a current computer.
Its controls are also kind of
I would absolutely love. Excuse me. I'd absolutely love for them to remaster a lot of the classic Scum games to come back so that we could actually play them on. I mean, right now we have a Scum emulator that can run on pretty much every device out there, probably your microwave too if you try. And I would love for them to be able to remaster some of those old games like Day of the Tentacle and
I don't know how
Yes.
likely that is now that LucasArts is owned by Disney. I don't think that Like
Well, they just
Disney's
got
only
Grim
gonna,
Fandango, so I think like the ability is there, but I don't know how far they'll go
but it
because
depends
otherwise
how
these
like
products are just going to sit there.
So
the
you're
thing is
telling
who's
me
gonna buy Day of the Tentacle to remaster it. Like I, at this point it looks like God damn it, I can't remember his name. Um, did Monkey Island Day of the Tentacle? Um, it starts with an R. I feel really embarrassed that I can't remember his name. Um,
The
Ron
co-creator
Gilbert.
of Ron Gilbert, yeah.
Yeah. Like, it seems unlikely that he would want to do a remaster of those old games at this point. He doesn't look like he's doing a lot in games anymore. Like, he released an iOS game and that's it. Like, I know that he left Telltale after they did those Monkey Island games, and he's not over at
He was there for a
Dave.
while, but he left.
He's not over at Double Fine. And so, like, it seems like he's kind of just done with games. I don't blame him. I mean, he's been doing games for a long, long time. Also, the kind of games that he used to make, no one makes anymore. But I think it would be up to him to remake that game. I think it's unlikely that anyone else would do it. I mean, maybe Day of the Tentacle would be done by Tim Schafer, because Tim Schafer worked on that game. But the first Maniac Mansion certainly wouldn't. I don't think that, like, the Indiana Jones game would. Because, like, who owns that?
Basically, what my idea is, seeing how Double Fine, yes, but how adventure games are really being brought back to the forefront with a bunch of developers that are trying to aim at making games like that. I think if Grim Fandango does well, it can prove to the industry that those kind of games have value and worth. Because I think people forget that interactive games like that, like Day of the Tentacle, Grim Fandango, Monkey Island,
King's Quest,
King's Quest, any of those games, those are games, but they're stories. They're stories. And they're written well. They're very fun, interesting stories to watch, to play through. Some are scary, some are fun, some are like super hilarious. And I think people forget that, and they treat them like games. And as games by themselves, I actually think they're boring. It's the stories that people like in those things. And I treated those games like I was reading a novel when I was a kid. That's how I treated those back then. And I think that if Grim Fandango does well enough, and it shows that those kind of games can still exist, we can have more of a connection between, because I really feel like the movie industry and the television industry kind of bypassed this kind of interactive media way back in the day. But I think that if we were to see a renaissance of these kind of games, we could see more film people working on these kind of games and making them far more definitive, larger experiences than what I think we were used to seeing in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, I think arguably there's a lot of games that are heavily inspired by adventure games that are kind of this renaissance. Like Brothers is basically an adventure game.
Yeah.
The only difference is that you move around using a joystick. Also, there's the Deponia series, which is very much in it like a point and click, and that did pretty well. That's a great series. I don't know.
Another one. There's one that not a lot of people consider to be a point and click, even though I do. The Walking Dead series that did very well. That brought in a second season, which I have yet to play, but from what I've heard, it's also really well done.
I mean, I feel like that renaissance is already there. Otherwise, Sony wouldn't put the money into this.
Yeah.
But God, can you guys hear that music?
Nope.
No.
We can't. You're just crazy.
No, my roommates are fucking assholes. They know I'm doing a podcast, and they're just like, oh, we're gonna turn on the fucking speaker stacks and blare music in a living room, and then go outside and have a cigarette. It's like, This is why I'm moving, by the way.
This is the exact reason.
Yeah, you're all experiencing my rage, because now I'm not going to be able to watch TV later tonight. I wanted to watch The Leftovers, which is HBO's new show to like replace Game of Thrones, but now it's going to be a subpar experience, certainly, because I'm going to have to listen to 80s music.
I think that'd make it better.
Yeah, the drama that's about the Rapture is made way better with 80s music the whole time. But like I was saying, arguably, like this renaissance of adventure games is already there. I think that it's not necessary at this point to make like traditional point and click games because they're not very good mechanically. I think that you can still put those great stories inside of much bigger much bigger games, just like games that are more engaging mechanically. I think The Witcher 2 is a great example of that. That's probably the best writing in games I've ever. That's the best example of writing in games that I can think of, is The Witcher 2. I think it handles mature concepts well. I think it's a really engaging story, and I don't think that it's impossible to like still make an engaging story that's funny or whatever you want it to be and put it into a real game. I think that we're past that point of...
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
But there's still a giant group of people who really enjoy the point and click genre by itself. I know a ton of people who still love those games and still play them to this day and would love to see more of them.
Like Scarfulu.
And that's definitely noticeable with Broken Age coming out. That game was backed and it's loved, especially the first season of it. It's a loved game and it's doing fairly well, and it's showing that there's still a large group of people out there who love point and clicks. Or there's just a large group of people out there who love Tim Schafer, aka me.
Oh, I love Tim Schafer. I think Tim Schafer is one of the best writers in video games because I think he actually writes a funny video game, which is really hard to do in a video game. I think making a funny video game is probably one of the hardest things you can do because of how video games progress and how comedy progresses. It's not natural to combine the both because games like generally can slow down and there's repetition in games, and in comedy things aren't funny twice. Like
they're only funny 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, things can be funny twice if they're real damn funny, but they're not like consistently funny all of the time, especially in this quick succession. Because like when you play a game and you fail something, you do it again right away. You don't do it again 6 months later or 3 years later. I mean, like Monty Python movies are always going to be goddamn hilarious, but I don't watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail and then rewind it and watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail, because that does not sound fun at all.
You don't do that? I do that all
watch
the
a movie, enjoy it really thoroughly, and then watch it again and be like, fuck, this is boring. But like, I think that it's hard to do comedy in a game, and I think that Tim Schafer is one of the few people who do it well. So, yeah. And I think he's maybe one of the only person that I can name that does it well consistently. Because there's games that I can name that do it well, like Stanley Parable, but who knows if they could do it with another game. Like, it's hard. Yeah, so, what did you like from E3, Shane?
I don't know. Honestly, I liked seeing Nintendo try, but I still don't think they're on the right footing yet. I think they're still a little bit confused as to what the industry wants from them and what gamers want from them. I know a lot of us,
I think the way they presented was how most people wanted them to present. Because, like, a lot of the stuff that they presented, like, they did something that no one else did, which is they took a game that's coming out this year and they played it for 45 minutes straight and just played it and talked about the game. And that was when they did Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is arguably, like, one of their bigger games this year, because that's supposed to be a 2014 release. It still doesn't have a release date, but it's supposed to be a 2014 release. And
which is fine.
They decided to like just sit down and play it for an hour, and I was like, "This is wonderful. I'm sold on this game."
Once again, fine, but they had that hour or so where they were broadcast all over the world. And for that hour, they showed very little of what they should have been showing. I find that they didn't show enough, and they were doing a lot of things for the entertainment of people that are watching, but that's not what E3 isn't for. I'm going to say this, and people are going to hate me for saying this. E3 isn't for shits and giggles. It's not entertainment for people to sit down there and watch. It's supposed to be
it's a trade show.
Yeah, it's a trade show. It's supposed to be information given to people in the industry and to to basically journalists to take the information and spread it out farther. It's to get everybody in a room and tell them what their goals are for that year and for the next year, and basically explain to them what their paths are. What I saw with Nintendo was a clear idea that they have Super Smash Brothers on the brain, but I didn't see anything else. I didn't see.
Well, they
I mean,
talked about
showed off
NFP
that-
quite a bit.
They showed off a bunch of games here and there, and that's great, but they didn't show the console working with these games. They didn't show that, which is important because everyone needs to remember the Wii U is still doing badly. That's a problem. Xbox One worse, but the Wii U is still doing badly.
I don't think
And-
the Xbox One is doing worse than the Wii U. They've sold a lot of units, and they've brought themselves in line with Sony. At this point, the Xbox One and like the PlayStation 4 are only going to be competing on software because they have like the same policies for everything. I think that they're definitely behind because of their policies that they previously had, but by getting rid of the Kinect, they're the same price now. They're basically the same systems. They have the same policies for everything. And so now it's just going to become like, now the lines are going to split by who likes Halo, who doesn't like Halo, and the people who don't like Halo are going to be torn by third-party titles, basically. So
As
it's
it
like,
stands right now, the Xbox One has 4.7 million units sold. The Wii U has 6.4 million units sold, and the PlayStation 4, which had a fraction of the time that the Wii U had, but keep that in
Yeah.
mind, 8.2 million units sold.
they passed 9. You're reading old
What?
numbers. They already
Did I?
passed 9.
Okay, well, they're going.
And Microsoft passed 5.
Well, still, that's
But
if they're at 9 and Microsoft's at 5, that's not good.
but like I said, it's mostly because of their old policies. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, I don't want to buy this because it has a Kinect, so it's $100 more expensive, and I don't want to connect. The Kinect isn't there anymore. It's gone. They don't sell them with Kinects anymore. Well, they sell ones that don't have Kinects now, I guess is the difference. But like, the Wii U has had a long time to sell 6 million units. It sold 6 million units in 2 years. The Xbox One has sold 5 million units in 9 months.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
I mean, the Xbox
But I
One
also-
it's the Xbox One is rivaling close to Wii U numbers already, which is great, but the Wii U's still not doing great. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, my Wii U there has one controller. One. Everyone I saw playing that new Super Smash Brothers game was using one of these, and that's cool. But that's not the controller that's on my Wii U. And what they're basically telling me is we're making a brand new game to utilize one of these, not the controller that I bought that seems to put about $150 worth of price tag on my Wii U. I don't like that. I really don't. If they're gonna make a game,
Sorry,
they
can you
use
guys
the
hear that?
controller somehow.
No.
And what I'm
No,
what I'm
you serious?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
no. What I'm seeing with the Wii, excuse me, what I'm seeing with the Wii U is that Nintendo is making a brand new game that everyone's excited for, but the game in no way uses the controller. I didn't play Mario Kart yet. Did Mario Kart use the controller in any significant way?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Not
well,
even a
okay.
little.
Has the
It
map
does-
on it. Has a couple different.
Only
it has features
in
on
single
it.
player. Only in single player does it have the map on it. In multiplayer, you can't
Also has a
even
horn
watch.
on it.
You can't even. So one of the things that's nice about Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed is that when you play in multiplayer, if you have the gamepad, you're playing on the gamepad. You see your cart, you drive them around. When you play in multiplayer in Mario Kart 8 and you drive on the gamepad, all 4 of the goddamn screens are on the gamepad, so you can't even use it like it's a new screen just for you, which is dumb. Like, it did it all wrong. All wrong. So it's just, like, super dumb.
This is why I'm confused, because we were all so... Everybody was singing the trumpets of Nintendo, saying that they are the best company in the world, and they're doing things just for you and me. But they're not doing things for you and me. If you're a gamer, like we are, then they didn't do shit for you. What they did was essentially went, hey, we're bringing back controller to a console no one bought. Do you remember this? Yeah, no one bought it. This is a wonderful controller. I love this controller. I love the GameCube. No one bought the GameCube. It was like the worst selling system of that generation. Why the hell, when they're looking for solutions for the Wii U, did they think they needed to re-release this? And you gotta give me a little bit of leeway here, because I'm honestly a little bit confused with this. When it comes to the Wii U, when it comes to this system, they're basically reintroducing a controller for a hardcore fan base of gamers who don't care. Okay? Because if you're telling me this new Super Mario or this new Super Smash Bros. Game is going to replace Melee, you're wrong. In Melee, what is the one thing everybody freaking does when they play that game? Come on, think about it. If you're a hardcore player, there's that one little button movement that you do every single time you play. And it's the same reason why everyone only plays the game with, like, Fox or Falco or, like, one other character. Wave dashing. And that's it. And wave dashing does not exist in the new Super Smash Bros. Game. So no one's going to be playing it competitively because it sets everybody at the same playing field, which isn't fun, because that's the reason why people play those Smash Bros. Games on Melee. It's the reason why everybody plays Melee and not Brawl. And they're thinking that they're going to attach this audience by moving everybody over, but that's not going to happen. Super Smash Bros. Brawl on the Wii sold, I think, 11 million units, and there's about 100 million units sold of the Wii. If you take that into perspective, that's about, let's just say, 10% or 11% of the total audience of the Wii bought Super Smash Bros. So if you take those numbers with 6.4 million and you say that about 10% of the audience is going to buy that game, that's a low number.
But I don't think that that percentage would apply, because arguably, like, there's a similar percentage for Mario Kart, but the new Mario Kart sold over 2 million units already, just because there's no games on the Wii U. And so it's like, if you own one, you want to buy a goddamn game for it. So here's a game. It's like, oh great, a game. You've had $60 for a game for a month, and we finally released one. Yeah. So I think, like, they'll probably sell 1 million units, but only like 1 million units, which is still not a good number.
And then on top of that, the 3DS, which is a far more prolific system with far more sales in the marketplace,
could possibly cannibalize a lot of those sales.
Which it might cannibalize some of the Wii U's, but I think the problem I have with this,
Smash Brothers for 3DS comes out like this month or something like that, doesn't it?
I know I'm buying it for 3DS. I know my friend's buying it for 3DS. I know we're not buying Wii U's for it. The one thing that they're doing, though, is that Smash Bros. For 3DS is the most expensive 3DS game, I'm pretty sure, to date. It's running at, I think, over $60 right now. I think it's about $60. That's not including tax.
I don't know. I'm just taking a guess here. I played, what was it called? Power Stone on the PSP. Beautiful game. Love Power Stone. Very great game. Very similar to Smash Brothers in most respects. That's nuts to play on a PSP with a screen. I just plug it up to a TV when I'm playing it, or play it on a Dreamcast, that game. The 3DS's screen, correct me if I'm wrong, is smaller than a PSP's. Right?
The XL screen, I think, is bigger,
but the
actually.
Resolution's a lot lower.
Yeah.
They've kind of talked about that. There's an art style change in order to make Smash Bros. More playable on 3DS, in that everyone has like a thick black outline around their character.
Yeah, and you can actually change the size of the outline. There's options to have it thin or medium or thick. So you can have different styles.
I'm pretty sure that he's getting out his 3DS to compare the size of the screens.
Yeah, I want to take a look. I'm curious. But I am pretty sure my 3DS is somewhere in the house because I barely turn that thing on.
Like the bottom screen for the 3DS is more to the size of the PSP screen.
The Vita's got a big screen. It's a lot bigger than the Vita or than the regular PSP's was.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got a great screen.
Yeah.
So I have. Yeah, they're pretty close. I mean, I'd say the 3DS XL is much bigger. Like
yeah,
just the top one alone.
The resolution on the XL though, I think, is the same as the resolution on the other one. So
yeah, it's garbage. It's a garbage resolution. It actually looks. So
I've been having problems with that. I'm trying to find a regular 3DS right now. They don't sell them anymore. I can't find one.
So here's just me thinking out loud. Everyone's played Super Smash Brothers on the Wii U. Everyone. But not one single person out in the wild has played it on a 3DS. There might be a reason for that.
Yeah, it's I mean, Nintendo's even admitted, like, this is not going to be the best version of this game. You don't want to buy it. Like, if you have the option between the two, you don't want to buy the 3DS version. But they have at least done a couple things to make the game more playable, apparently. But it definitely made the game look lack outlines. I don't like it. It does not look good.
I don't mind them.
This is what I'm essentially worried about with Nintendo is if they screw up Super Smash Brothers on the 3DS, kiss the company. People won't buy the Wii U version. Oh my God, you can look at one of the, if they screw up. This is my prediction. If they screw up Super Smash Brothers on the 3DS and the Wii U, you're essentially going to look at the akin of E.T. on Atari. You're going to look at a company that is going to damage their huge like reliance on one title to push the company through the dark. And at this point in time, if Nintendo cannot make their sales work with this one game, which, by the way, is crazy. They should not be doing this. But if they can't make this one game sell properly, you're going to see a huge backlash. The Super Smash, not Super Smash Brothers, the Mario Kart game that got released, that's fine. That's great that that's selling, and it's good that it increased Wii U sales. However, the numbers I've heard...
Besides the one dumb thing about the fucking gamepad, I can't believe that they didn't do it right. Like, it's so obvious. Hey, you're playing multiplayer? Use this as your own screen. Nope. In fact, they do the worst multiplayer split when you play it in two-player. They do the vertical split.
Nice.
Real gross. Well, game's almost unplayable because you can't predict the corners that are coming up because it's too narrow.
Well, the thing is, if you split it horizontally, you can't see what's coming up in front of you. It's
could,
been like that.
Because of the position of the camera.
Games have been splitting it vertically for a long time, especially since it switched to 16:9, because if you split it vertically, now you have two square TVs instead of one really fucking long rectangle. It just makes more sense to split vertically now. It didn't make sense back when we had our 4x.
I know, but it doesn't look right, and it doesn't feel right, and you can't predict the corners, which is kind of a thing in racing games. So...
One of the problems I have with that whole chestnut is that, like...
there's no good way to do it, really, is the problem.
There isn't, but what you're talking about is the fact that they can't put the second view on the controller. There's a reason for that. Nintendo's been hush-hush about it, but the system's not that powerful.
There's other games, though, that have done it that look just as good. Like
Sonic and All-Stars
Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, which was a launch title.
I would argue that the new Mario Kart game is taxing the system far more. The Zombie U came out, and there's this one sequence in Zombie U where you are picking up a machine gun, and you're like firing with the gamepad, and in on the main screen there's like a 3D image of everything, and then on the gamepad you're seeing a 3D image where you're moving around. It's two separate 3D images. When a bolt of lightning flashes while that system is or that thing is happening on, the game just like shudders and the frame rate totally drops. The reason why that happens is because when the bolt of lightning happens, it illuminates the entire playfield, all the level design and everything. So for one brief instance, you're seeing everything, and the 3D or the Wii U can't handle that shit. Basically, what's happening is you're getting a really high quality looking game up on your screen, and then they're duplicating that image onto the Wii U gamepad. So when they do that, the system's running a game twice essentially. It's doing two different resolution or it's doing two different renders at the same time, which is really like it kills the system because
Yeah, but when
it
you're
just
doing split
takes so much
screen,
memory.
that's what you're doing already, essentially. And that's why in split screen they down the resolution per player, like, pretty significantly. And so, I don't think it would be... I think what they were worried about was that there would be one person on the TV screen, and they didn't want to down their resolution so that it would look worse than the single player.
There you
Even
go.
though it would be kind of necessary, but it would make the game a hell of a lot more playable and
I
way more
completely
fun.
agree.
And I don't think
I completely agree.
most people would notice the resolution downgrade anyways, so
No,
kind
but
of frustrating.
I completely agree with you, and I guarantee you that's exactly the reason why. Because they thought, hey, if somebody plays with the gamepad and then a friend comes over, the game's gonna look like shit. So they were like, maybe we should.
Well, they
just
already
get...
have to downgrade the resolution to do it on the gamepad anyways, because the resolution, like, they would match that resolution, which is actually lower than the split screen resolution anyways. It's just that they didn't want to lower the resolution on the big screen, so... Or at least likely.
Yeah.
Lots of fun stuff with this, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Do you use the touch screen at all while playing that game? Like, is that
No,
even
not at all. Not
There's
even a
there's a
little.
horn. You can honk the horn.
Oh, yeah, you can honk
That's
a
how you
horn.
honk. Yeah, that's how you honk your horn.
Is there a
Because-
button that does it too?
I don't know.
No.
So wait, you're telling me all those buttons on there, not one of them honks the horn as well?
I don't think so.
Probably not. Maybe.
Oh.
I don't know. Who knows?
Unless one of the L triggers are for it.
I
I'm
have
not
beef
sure.
with that game because I tried to play it multiplayer, but there's so many car parts that it's like hard to get my friends into that game because it makes the game a lot less approachable, which is strange for a Mario Kart game that you would design it to be less approachable, but they, like, when you have to build your cart like you did in Mario Kart 7, and if you just want to sit down and you've never played the game before and it's like, yeah, we're going to play some Mario Kart, and I have all of the parts unlocked, they sit down and there's just like 80 parts, and I'm like, the fuck is this? I don't understand what any of this does. And they don't really convey the stat changes to you very well, or what any of the stats mean at all. So it's not like it was before in Mario Kart 64, which is like where you can just sit down and be like, I like Donkey Kong, and select Donkey Kong. Like, it's too fucked. It's too complicated now. They revealed all of the cogs, and now everyone's confused. But, like, there's just things that that game did that makes it not a great Mario Kart game. I mean, if you like Mario Kart, you'll like Mario Kart 8. If you only play Mario Kart when you're drunk at your friend's house, you probably won't like Mario Kart 8 because it's, like, not as approachable and it does some weird shit. Specifically that gamepad thing. Like, it's almost not as good of a party game as every other Mario Kart title. So. But it's got good online play. Because I have 3 people on my Wii U for friends. Did you see Devil's Third? Which was one of the games that is coming out for the Wii U. It's made by Tomonobu Itagaki from Valhalla.
I don't think I've seen that.
I was surprised that they didn't bother to talk about this because it's arguably one of the games that Nintendo kind of needs on the Wii U. It's a third-person shooter, cut 'em up with a sword game, super violent. It has guys who were involved with THQ before THQ closed down attached to it. It's why this game is still getting made, because it was originally going to be a THQ title, but THQ doesn't exist, so now Nintendo's publishing it. It uses the Darksiders 2, or no, it uses the Unreal 3 engine, because THQ went under. But it's made by Valhalla Games, which, Jesus, what other titles were there? Ninja Gaiden. You know Ninja Gaiden? He's making a game where you shoot people and cut people up with a sword. And Nintendo's publishing it, and it's super violent, and they just didn't bother to mention it. At all. They just released the trailer during E3.
Well, awesome.
I'm probably going to buy this game. I love Ninja Gaiden. And this is a game that is not apparently as hard as Ninja Gaiden, or at least as Ninja Gaiden used to be, but you get to shoot guys and then run up to them with a sword and cut them in half. That sounds great. And they just didn't bother to talk about it at all. It's like, you know what? The whole world's looking at you right now. Everyone says that you only make kid games. Why would you not show your one ultra-violent game? Just do it.
Instead of 20 minutes of Splatoon.
Yeah, instead of 20 minutes of Splatoon. Even though it was more like 10, because they only did a 45-minute video. But
it felt like 45 minutes.
It was real long. And then they spent hours on Splatoon during the Treehouse live stream, but whatever. But it's crazy that they didn't bother to talk about this game. Because people consistently are like, yeah, I'm going to buy an Xbox because they don't have violent games on Nintendo, and I want to play Call of Duty and Battlefield or games like it. And it's like, here's your one title that fits that, fills that void. You get to shoot people and they die and you cut them up with a sword. Don't bother to talk about it, even though it's the most mainstream game that you could pitch. You shoot people and cut them up with swords. But whatever.
Nintendo, what am I going to do with you? What are we going to do with you?
It just seems crazy that they wouldn't bother to talk about it.
We're going to start buying your games on Xbox 360 5 years from now. That's what we're going to do with you. When they sell off all their IPs.
I mean, Devil's Third, as far as the game, as a pitch goes, I'm interested in that game, but I feel like maybe I'm one of the only 10,000 people in the world who bothered to go on Nintendo's channel and see all of the videos that they released during E3, because they just didn't talk about stuff. They had a ton of games that they just didn't bother to mention. And they did weird announcements during Treehouse livestream that should have been in their E3 video. Project Steam, that 3DS game made by the guys who did Fire Emblem, and it's basically Lincoln Wars. It looks cool. It's a game that I would be totally if I owned a 3DS, that would probably be on my buy list. Once we know more about that game, if it turns out to actually be as cool looking as it looks at this point. But they did it during the Treehouse livestream because they just wanted to focus on Wii U stuff, I guess. It just seems they should have done a 90-minute video just like everyone else did, but instead they tried to go 45, and they didn't manage to fit the stuff in that they should have fit in.
Nintendo, I want to love you, but you keep fucking up. I've been saying that for about a couple years now.
It's getting old, Nintendo. It's getting old.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. It seems like they're doing the same thing that they always do, which is coast on Zelda and coast on Mario.
Yeah.
And it's just at some point that's not going to work. I mean, the only reason why they got me to buy a system was because they had Monster Hunter. Because I fucking love Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter made it worth buying a Wii U for me. I have little care in Zelda. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people think that's probably blasphemous. I didn't grow up using a Nintendo system. So,
yeah,
that's why I don't care. I really love Monster Hunter, though. If Nintendo keeps... As long as Nintendo continues to have exclusive rights over Monster Hunter, I'll probably continue to buy their systems. But I feel like I'm a very, very small demographic of players in North America. If you go over to Japan, people buy systems for Monster Hunter all the goddamn time, but not here.
The only thing that'll probably make me buy a Wii U is when Zelda comes out. if it's as cool as it says, if it ends up being just like,
I mean, this one looks cool. It sounds
yeah,
like more traditional. While it seems like a more modern RPG, because Zelda
yeah,
was never really an RPG, but this one
yeah.
sounds a lot like
He's
it.
they're basically saying that you can explore. It's huge. It's much bigger.
It's not
You can
nearly
go
as
to any of the
linear as the old
yeah.
ones
You can
because you
go
used
to
to have to
any of
do
the
them in
dungeons in
order.
any order you want. Like they said that the dungeons aren't ordered in any way they are. Um, a long time ago, before Hyrule Warriors or A Link Between Worlds was even announced, they mentioned what the new 3D Zelda game was going to be like, and it's kind of matching up with what they're talking about and showing. They basically said that the game is going to be huge. The first dungeon is going to be the size of Hyrule Field. Um, and they said the dungeon that they were working on was the size of Hyrule Field from Ocarina of Time. And they said that you could visit any of the dungeons in any order you want, which all sounds really fun to me. And if it ends up being cool, um, and has the free roaming style, kind of like Skyrim has, I'd be into buying a Wii U for that. But as of right now, there's really nothing that makes me really want one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. That's pretty much the case.
Yeah, like Nintendo just has certain franchises that they can pitch, and people will buy their systems for it if the game's good. Uh, like Star Fox, people are going to buy a Wii U for the new Star Fox. There's a huge
Mm.
group of people who love Star Fox that'll buy it for Star Fox. If they mention a Metroid game, there's a bunch of people who like Metroid that'll buy the system for Metroid. Same
I
with
think there's a huge
Zelda. Same
overlap
with
between the people
all.
who like Zelda, Metroid, and Star Fox. I think.
Yeah, but like
I think that's the
there's
issue that Nintendo
individuals.
has. The people who like Nintendo, they've probably already bought Wii U's, but because
Yeah,
Nintendo's already had a lot of Nintendo-y games with like Super Mario or with 3D World, and now they have Mario Kart. And I think that those kind
yeah,
of
but
sale boosts that they're
that's
getting
the
out of these games are going to like substantially taper off because at a
that's the
point the people
problem
who
though.
own who
They've
like Star
only
Fox
been
already own the system because they also like Zelda.
that's like the only that's the problem that they have though so far. They've only been selling Mario. They haven't put any of their other IPs on there other than Donkey Kong.
That Donkey Kong game is
Um,
really good.
yeah. Um, and
Besides the
I
gamepad
don't I
thing,
don't
which is
I don't
bullshit once
care
again.
about Mario or Donkey Kong. Well, I love Donkey Kong. I love Rare Donkey Kong. Don't much care for the new ones.
Really, it's really good. Did you
I
play
don't
the
much
Wii one?
I played the Wii one and I didn't much care for it.
Mm.
That to say, though, I'm more of a fan of Donkey Kong 64 than I am of the old Rare games.
Oh, well then, that explains
Yeah,
that.
um, I love Donkey Kong 64. I have the Rare games are great, but I love 64 more than the Rare games. Well, 64 is made by Rare more than the 2D games. It's a better way of putting it. But still, they're only selling Mario. That doesn't sell me, and it probably doesn't sell a lot of other people because a lot of people are complaining, oh, Mario's just Mario. It's been the same for 20 years. I don't want to buy a console because of Mario.
I think I'd buy consoles if they did things with Mario that I liked, like
Yeah.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
I love me some Sunshine. So we should probably wrap up soon because we have talked for a very long time again.
It,
What happens
yeah.
is that Shane comes on the podcast and we talk for an hour and a half about pinball machines, or last time we talked for an hour about pachinko machines.
Yeah. It
Um,
seems to be the same. This time it's pinball and Nintendo. Last time it was
and then we hit
pachinko
3
and
hours, and I'm
Nintendo.
like, how the fuck do we hit 3 hours? So we're about to hit 3 hours, which, well, I guess it was at half an hour at the beginning that they wouldn't be aware of because we were setting up, but we've been here for a while, so we're
Yeah.
gonna wrap up. I think the general consensus is that Nintendo could do better.
Nintendo needs to stop fucking up. That's
I think that's how we ended the
consensus.
podcast the last time that Shane was on too,
Yep. Yeah, it was.
because we were talking about Donkey Kong.
Yep, and the controller being not
Yeah.
used.
But we should wrap this up. Just to end it, Is there anything that you would like to plug, Shane?
No,
No?
I'm pretty good.
No? You're good? Alrighty then. So, thank you guys and ladies for watching the 65th episode of the Dapper Gaming Podcast for July 6th. I've been your host, Ryan. With me, as always, has been Joe. He's over there.
Sup, dogs?
Down here is Shane, our wonderful repeat guest. Last time that you were on, it was like one of the best episodes of the podcast we've ever done. It was really great. Thank you a lot for coming back on.
Thank you.
I think this week was a little slower. I think it was a little... The news game is kind of hard lately.
Oh, I'm still getting off of and everything too, so I'm not doing.
You're
100%.
also sick. It's all understandable.
You got
There's
that
a lot
con
going
flu.
on.
You got the con plague.
Luckily, I don't get sick easy.
Packed
Hopefully,
fox.
I don't get sick from. Hopefully, I don't get sick from cons this year. I didn't get sick from Bravo last year though, so I might be good this year. SGC is much bigger though,
Lucky.
Yeah.
so I might be screwed. Might show up to Con Bravo extremely sick.
Might have the bubonic plague.
Yeah.
Might have
be the
smallpox.
first might be the first person in 200 years to get that.
Alrighty then. So, thanks a lot for coming back on, Shane. It was great having you on. And, we will see you guys all next week. Goodbye.
See you. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye.